Yes, it's Tales from the Jails with John G. Sutton. Do please like and subscribe. It really helps. And leave some comments. Ask me questions. And don't forget, on the first Tuesday in March at 7 p.m. here on Tales from the Jails, we're going to do a live broadcast where you can link in, ask me questions, whatever you want to do, you know. I'll do what I can. I'm going to talk today. It's been all over the news this morning, certainly all over Radio 4, BBC Radio 4. At 7:30 this morning, they were interviewing officials from the Ministry of Justice concerning the problems in HM prisons. And during the next 7 to 10 days, the Scottish Prison Service will be releasing early 390 inmates because of the terrible overcrowding problems. And basically what they arrived at the conclusion today was that the length of prison sentences has increased. And they put the blame for this on both the Conservative Party and the Labour Party for being what they believe to be tough on crime. So they're using imprisonment as a punishment and not for rehabilitation. I mean, basically, the idea should be, I believe, that what we're going to do here is help people not to become offenders, or if they are offenders, to rehabilitate them into society and enable them to live a good, productive life as reasonably honest citizens. And that's not happening. There was also a report on Monday concerning HMP Durham. Now, HMP Durham is, according to the Prison Officers Association and the staff employed at the prison, unfit for purpose and a threat, a danger to the safety and well-being of both the inmates and the staff. At one point, HMP Durham was experiencing suicides, but they've done something to try and to dissuade people from committing suicides at Durham. But the damn place is vastly overcrowded and, according to reports, is flooded with drugs. Now, how do these drugs get in? I've asked numerous inmates. I mean, don't forget, when I was working in the prisons, drugs weren't quite the problem that they are today. The problem back in the 70s and 80s was mainly illicit tobacco being smuggled in and booze. One trick that used to be used by prisoners was that they'd get their people who were visiting them to inject oranges with vodka. So the oranges would be absolutely loaded up with vodka, of course. When they were handed to their partners in prison, they had an instant vodka and orange, literally. That was one of the tricks. The other one was that they would make their own hooch. At Wormwood Scrubs, when I was there, for some unknown reason, it was decided by the inmates that if they distilled Brasso, or boot polish as well, through a loaf of bread, and what came out at the bottom was clear fluid, which was a form of alcohol, that they could mix this with cordial or whatever, and it would be hooch in effect. About 3 of the inmates went blind drinking that stuff, so there is some truth in the term being blind drunk, but they were literally blind. So that was stopped. But everywhere throughout the prisons you'd discover these little buckets that they were brewing hooch in. They did a great deal to hide them, of course, but it was, of course, the staff's duty to find them. That was when the staff were actually interested in finding stuff. But they don't seem to be, how can they do it these days? According to the reports on the news on Radio 4 this morning, they're saying that inmates in the prisons, specifically at HMP Durham, were spending 22 hours a day in their cells. And although they've got internal sanitation now, the cells designed 150 years ago for one person were today holding two people. Perhaps they think people have halved in size over the years. Well, I don't think they have, actually. Unless I'm misinformed. Everything seems to be fairly normal with the prisoners. But the POA are now stating that it's unfit, that it's a danger both to the staff and to the inmates of the prison. So they want something done about this. But what's being done? They're releasing people early. They're reducing the sentences down from a 50% of sentence, assuming good behaviour, for discharge. They're reducing that down to 40%. But people who have committed seriously dangerous crimes like murder but evil people who have been charged with attempted murder are now being classified down to D, classification D inmates, and transferred to open prisons. So basically the whole thing is in absolute disarray. And I've previously spoken about the idea of recruiting prison officers direct from foreign countries without any face-to-face interviews. So you could actually be getting anybody and coming straight over. And of course they've got nowhere to live. So as I said on a previous broadcast, some of them are living in shanty towns in the woods. Seriously. How disgraceful is that? Back in when I joined, I'd like to keep harking back to the past, but you were a fully established civil servant after 12 months service, and you carried a warrant from the Queen, or the King as it is in this case, that gave you all the powers of a police constable. Surely they cannot be possibly recruiting people from third world countries and bringing them over here and giving them a warrant and all the powers of a police officer with virtually no training or a few weeks training on the job. They don't have national schools like they did in the 1960s, 70s and 80s, where they had training schools where you did 12 weeks intensive training and you had to pass exams every week. And if you failed the exams, you were out. I'm not blowing my own trumpet, but I got 100% all the way through. I don't know, it just seemed easy to me. Once you'd read the rule book, memorised it, that was the end of that. But hey, Radio 4 this morning at 7:30, all about the prison service and what a damn disgrace it's turned into. And there is real problems at the top because they're imprisoning more and more people for quite serious offences. Look at all the stabbings and the murders, and these people are going to prison for 20, 30 years, and it costs £1,000 a week at least to hold a prisoner in the prison system. £1,000 a week. So you got somebody in there for 30 years. Yeah, costing a couple of £1 million per inmate. What's that all about? Where's the rehabilitation? You can't rehabilitate somebody that goes and murders 3 children, can you? I've got an idea what you could do with them. But it wouldn't be concerning rehabilitation. It's that time of day, folks. Don't forget to buy my books, by the way. They're available. There's a link down below. That's the Song Dinger. Are you ready? Are you sitting comfortably? I'm going to bugger that up for you. Anyway, this is a song that was recorded some time ago by Tom Jones. It's Detroit City. I heard it the other day and I thought, yeah, I can do that. Not very well, mind you, but I could probably do it. So here we go. This is John G. Sutton. That's me, by the way. Detroit City. Last night I went to sleep in Detroit City, and I dreamed about the cotton fields at home. I dreamed about my mother, dear old papa, sister and brother. I dreamed about the girl who's been waiting for so long. I wanna go home. I wanna go home. Oh, how I wanna go home. Home folks think I'm big in Detroit City. From the letters that I write, they think I'm fine. But by day I make the cars, and by night I make the bars. If only they could read between the lines. You know, I rode a freight train north to Detroit City. After all these years, I find that I've just been wasting my time. So I think I'll just take my foolish pride, put it on a southbound freight and let it ride, going back to the loved ones, the ones I'm waiting far behind. I wanna go home. I wanna go home. Oh, how I wanna go home. Yeah, Detroit City. I've been to Detroit City. I really have. I was visiting Columbus, Ohio, but the hub, the airport was at Detroit. And when I came to go back through Detroit, flying back to Toronto in Canada, they decided they were going to search me. This 7-foot, 25-stone giant decided he'd need to have a rumble inside my underpants. I mean, come on. I'm a bloody old man in a wheelchair, seriously. They know who I am. They've checked you all out before you get anywhere near the airport. They know exactly who's coming through. You didn't find anything. I told him, I said, if you find anything in there, let me know. I've been looking for the last few years, and I haven't found out. Tales from the Jails with John G. Sutton.